Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, welcome. I am Meg. I am beyond excited today because this is the piece for the $100 challenge that I am participating in with 23 channels, so 24 including myself. So this is so exciting. I can't wait till you see my piece, and I can't wait for everybody to watch all of the videos, find out what each person did for their challenge and how much it all costs. So did it cost under $100? For me, you'll find out at the end. I will share everything that I had to purchase and how I had to make over this piece that I got. So don't forget to subscribe to my channel, like this video, and enjoy watching. So this is the piece that I chose for the challenge piece, and I'm really happy that I found it. It's a mid-century modern dresser, and I just absolutely love it. Now it is laminate, so it's not solid wood on the top, but it is on the drawers. And I wanted to make this piece more modern, so I took off the appliques with a putty knife and a screwdriver. All I did was hammer the putty knife in between the drawer and the applique, and it's held on with nails, so it sort of came out very easily. I just had to put the screwdriver behind the putty knife and sort of use it as a leverage and pull it back, and then it sort of popped off. So they were all easy, and I did that for all three of the drawers. Just be careful, these do have nails in them, so you want to put them somewhere safe where the nails are not sticking up. Now the legs and the trim were solid wood, and I wanted wood showing, so I used my orbital sander to sand the entire trim and the legs. While I had my orbital sander out, I decided to scuff sand the rest of the piece. Now, because I couldn't get into the corners on the trim or the legs properly, I wanted to do this right and take off the legs. It was pretty easy to take them off with the nuts and the screws, and they just came out like that. That way I can sand the legs separately. Once they are done, I can put them back on easily. So I was able to sand the rest in the corners there, which was pretty easy, and then start on the sides of the trim right here like I am. Now I used 80 grit sanding disc to do this. So once the legs were sanded and they looked great, I put them back in and used the wrench to make sure that they were on tight. Now, where the appliques were, there were little holes from the nails, so I grabbed my LePage wood filler and filled those in. Now, this doesn't dry as fast as the fast-drying 15-minute LePage wood filler, but it's still good. So I wrapped up the base and the legs with the Blue Painter's plastic tape. You can get this off of Amazon in different sizes and large rolls. Once the wood filler was dry, I used my orbital sander to go over it to make it really smooth. I did this for all three drawers on the top. Then I cleaned the entire piece with the Krud Kutter and just a rag. You can buy a whole bag of lint-free rags from Lowe's. I find them really, really handy. And again, I'm using the Krud Kutter, which I've really been liking. I've mentioned it a few times in my videos. I find it really gets off a lot of dirt, and it doesn't smell. I don't think it does anyway. So I get asked a lot about why I paint with the drawers in, and it's just easier when you're paint spraying because the paint sprayer doesn't clog up the sides of the drawers. So, but there is an exception when I have drawers that overlap trim. I like to wrap the drawers in the painter's plastic, put them back in. That way I can keep them out a little bit and then spray the edges. But with this piece, I found that the drawers were way too close and I wasn't able to get that inside trim, so I took them all out. And then I started to spray Zinsser Bin 123 Gray Primer with my Flexio 5000 Wagner sprayer. Now, while I was spraying, I noticed a little bit of dust flying up, and that was really bothering me, and I had forgotten to vacuum the bottom of the dresser, so I did that and found quite a bit of dust on the bottom, so that got really cleaned again. And this is what the gray primer looks like. So this is about 2 coats, and there was a little bit of bleed through. Now, I do love the Zinsser Bin 123, but it is not great for bleed through sometimes if you have a really bad bleed through piece. But I do still love it for the coverage, and usually it does work, but I guess this piece was really bad for the bleed through. So I love to use my Kills primer spray, which is absolutely amazing and my favorite primer spray. It just covers everything and gets rid of odors. So once that was dry, I sanded it with 400 grit sandpaper on all the drawers and the entire piece. I like to use the 400 grit with primers because it just gets it really smooth. So the top, I was going to do a design. So I wanted some parts of it in a beige color. So I used Soiree by Country Chic paint. And I was really mad at myself because I didn't dry my sprayer well enough after washing it from the last time I used it with the primer. So drips of water were dripping onto the paint. And I've done this before, and so I should have known better, but it happened. So I had to let it dry and then try again. Now you can see that it's doing it again because I've left water in the nozzle. So I wasn't very happy with myself. And you can see it dripping there. So always make sure that your sprayer is dry from washing it. So while that was drying, I sprayed the hardware, which is the original hardware. You don't have to keep the original hardware, but I did for this piece, and I may change them out later, I'm not sure. but I used dark bronze in the Rust-Oleum spray, which I find such a durable spray for hardware. I really, really like it, and they have so many colors for it too. So here is where the water dripped, and I rubbed it too soon, and I should have been patient and waited for it to dry. So I did. I let it dry longer, and then I went over it with my sander and made it really smooth, and then went over it with paint again, and it turned out perfect. So here I am trying out the design. It did take me a couple of times to figure this out. So I want a diamond shape, but two in the beige, and then I want the rest of the piece in the dark roast paint, which is a really dark green. It's almost black, but it does have that tinge of green in it. So after a couple of tries, I figured it out. I had to run the tape from the outside to the corner to the middle. Now I did measure it, so it was 60 inches long. Half of that is 30, so the middle will be 30. And then I measured widthways, so it turned out to be 8 and something. I'd have to look again. But I used an X-Acto knife to cut off the excess tape that came into the middle, because the tape is square at the end, and I made this design doing that. And then I covered each panel, the beige panel, with the plastic painter's tape like that. So then I started spraying the Dark Roast by Country Chic paint, which is such a beautiful color. I can't wait for you to see it at the end. So here's what it looks like. This is about 3 coats of paint. Once it was completely dried, I went over it with 1000 grit sanding block and then started to peel off the painter's tape, which is the most satisfying part. So once all that was done, I went over it with the top coat. This is Country Chic Paint Clear Coat, which sprays beautifully. And I did about 2 coats of this and used 1000 grit sanding block in between top coats, making sure that it's completely dry. And here's what it looks like. It is so beautiful. I absolutely love it. I did go over, which I forgot to mention, I did go over the legs and the base trim with the soiree beige color so that it would match the top design. I do have that in my other video. So I think this turned out perfect, and I think I did really well for the $100 challenge. So I hope that you enjoyed that video. I absolutely love this dresser. It's so gorgeous, and it turned out absolutely amazing, and I stayed under the $100. So I wrote it down, so I'm gonna let you know exactly what cost what and how I did it all. So okay, The piece cost me $40. This was on Facebook Marketplace. The paint, so the darker color was called Dark Roast by Country Chic Paint. And the pint is about $16. So you probably would buy the pint, but you wouldn't use the whole amount. It goes very far. And the beige part that I did for the design, that is about $8. You could probably get an 8 ounce of that because you don't need that much for the design on the top if you were to do that design. Now you do need that beige paint if you are going to do that technique on the raw wood that I did. Now, the Rust-Oleum spray for the hardware is original. Now, if I had bought new hardware, yes, my cost would be more. So it is quite difficult to stay under $100. It does take a lot. So if you don't like the original hardware, you're going to have to spend the money on new hardware. So if you were going to use a brush, now my paint sprayer was not included in this challenge. But if you're going to use a brush, the brushes can range from $9 to $16, depending on where you're getting your brush. So that's about it. I think I got to about $90. If you're going to include the green tape to do the design, that is about maybe what, $4, $5. So 95. I'm there. I'm still under 100. So I'm extremely happy about that. I think I did really well. This was so much fun, and I am going to put in my description the link for the playlist for all 24 channels. So you just have to click that link. It'll take you to the playlist and you can watch everybody that's involved. So I'm going to be watching tonight because this is going to be so much fun to see what everybody else is doing. I'm really, really curious to see how they stayed under $100. So thank you again for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and like this video, and you'll see a new video from me next week. Thanks again. Take care. Have a good day.